Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 660. Oh my gosh, I've had 3 of these Zoa energy drinks, and they are sweet as sugar can be, and I like them, but they give me a little bit of juice flowing. I don't know about you, but I like it. Man, so it has been an amazing day. There's been so many cool people building out some really awesome stuff that, like, I almost don't want to talk about anything else that I'm doing and just talk about what other people are doing. And I think that's how I'm going to start the show tonight. One of our friends, Willie, over a big nouns guy, big Farcaster guy. And I'll be honest, I started following him. He was just pumping out funny shit, you know, and I didn't know that I was going to actually know him. You know, he held really good spaces that were fun, fast paced. Like my spaces, when I'm interviewing someone, it's like a rolling train. We're going to get there when the train wants to get there. And if you get in the way of us, we are just going to keep on going because we're talking about anything and everything Web3. Now, oh my God, I got so much energy. This has been a great day. Just did some awesome stuff with Genius. You're going to see some more stuff from Ken. We had a really cool call. I've known Ken for a while now. And, you know, just bringing him into the Manifest Lifted family, you know, introduce him to everyone within the community and stuff. He's building some really cool tech where they're building basically an app chain that for AI image generation that runs as an SDK blockchain in the background of games. And so he just was at he was just at Consensus, but he was also before that. This was my first year that I've missed GDC, Game Developer Conference, in a while. But he had almost, he said, 1,000 games sign up to run his SDK in the background, meaning that these players that are playing these games that are like unmonetized are going to be earning money because they're going to be running this chain in the background, you know, transactions and everything like that. So they're not necessarily having to be Web3 games. They don't even know they're doing Web3 gaming, or Web3 is part of their game in any way, shape, or form. But what he did is some really cool stuff on the power consumption, because believe it or not, our phones are pretty freaking powerful these days. They used to be bricks. That's how we call them, the Motorola bricks. They did nothing but communicate. And it was sort of interesting to see how they went. But we have someone really cool that's going to join us. Let's see if he is there.
Yo.
GM, voice from above.
Yeah. Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
I am doing well. Good to see you, or your blank profile picture.
Yeah, kids are asleep and it's a dark room. So, you know, perfect place for a hangout.
Man, how are you doing? It's been a minute since I've seen you. It feels like it's been a minute, but it really hasn't been.
Well, it's been a week or two since Consensus, man. That was a wild ride of events between Decentralized AI Day and the main Consensus events, Akasha's Accelerate, the whole thing, man. It was wild. And so it was really cool to see everybody in person, like, you know, just the energy from the community and all the people building stuff. It was pretty great. So yeah, man, pretty excited about what Willie's built here with Noun Space. So glad you're jumping on here late night chatting about it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. This is one of those things to where, you know, I love being a first mover, you know, but I also love people building really cool stuff. And so, you know, obviously Morpheus, like learning about Morpheus, getting to meet you back in February, it was like, a breath of fresh air, fresh ideas that like really, and took in the essence of blockchain for me. Not another Ponzi-nomic thing like trade this for that, wrap this, stake here, and claimed that. It was simple and easy, and it's still mine. I still own possession of it, and it's for doing good shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think what, Willie and crew, adopting that whole fair launch framework is so cool, right? It's sort of, pushing forward this idea that, yeah, there's a lot of people with staked ETH that would love to support another cool open source project and do it in a way, right, where they can't lose their principal and it just contributes to yield. Like, I think that's such a brilliant and sort of elegant system. So yeah, it's been wild to see how popular that's been with Morpheus. And so now that the smart contracts have been generalized, right, and anybody can do a fair launch, it didn't take long where within weeks people were like, yeah, that fits my ethics. That's the kind of thing I want to support, right? We want this to be a community first project. I remember when Willie was first talking about Noun Space, right, and they already had VCs offering the money, and they had to make a choice, right? Is it going to be community first, or are they going to go down the company path? And not surprisingly, Willie chose to, put community first, right? I mean, he's the one that pushed for, decentralization of Shapeshift, right? He helped to make that whole thing happen with the Shapeshift Fox Foundation, the whole thing. And so, yeah, no, it was like, yeah, we have the tech now. We can do this without a company, without all the traditional baggage, and just build a community first project.
I remember when Shapeshift changed. It was permissionless one in West Palm Beach, and I was staying at the hotel, and I met this guy. I do not remember his name. I don't, but I remember we met smoking cigarettes outside, like early in the morning, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I work for Shapeshift," and I was like, "That's amazing. That's really freaking cool." And then the next day, he's like, "I got fired today." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, they fired everyone. And then they brought us up, voted us all back in onto the DAO. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I like this."
Yeah. It was pretty revolutionary. It's like, take a traditional company and turn it into a community owned DAO. And Shapeshift is doing just fine. The software is running and they're launching integrations. I just saw they went out on Base, which is really cool. And added support and integrations for that. And Morpheus just did the same, right? More Token just went live on Base, and that was the number one thing requested for More 20 was to add Base, so you could use Base and not just Arbitrum, right? For where people could get their tokens after the fair launch. So yeah, the developers, the open source guys were like, all right, let's do it, and they within a few weeks added Base. So that's just happened in the last few days, and this will be the first More 20 project.
So, all right. So Space is on Base.
Yep.
More now, to get more on Base, you're having to use Stargate or any like Sushi Swap bridge, or
no bridge required. So the smart contract devs integrated layer 0. So it's natively deployed on Base, Ethereum, and Arbitrum now. So you can move more tokens in between any of those three. You can go from Arbitrum to Base, Base to Arbitrum, Arbitrum to Ethereum, like L2 to L2, L2 to, it's all good, right? There's no hub and spoke anymore. You don't have to go back to one parent chain. It's any to any. And that's sort of where the interoperability layers have gotten to. So for layer 0, that's called the OFT standard. And then Wormhole, and then Wormhole has something similar for Solana with their NTT standard.
Yeah, and Portal and I remember when one of the first bridges to Solana opened up via Neon. I was getting ready to go to a hackathon at NearCon. And I met the Neon team, and I was like, "Hey, let's do a delegated contract on Solana to Neon, to Aurora, to Near." And oh man, Matt Locklear did not like me for that. And Me and him have tofu. I tell everyone this. I do not, and I try to tell him this, but I cannot ever find him at a conference. No, everyone's like, he just left. He just left, and I'm like, so I say I have tofu. It's not real beef. I think he is so freaking smart that like I want to like give him a hug. His EIP 998 was amazing. For not nested wallet NFTs, but wallet NFTs that are like actually whole, like containers.
Right.
And I love this stuff. And so yeah, all of this interoperable stuff is coming really to a head to where we're starting to not think about bridges so much.
Yep. And that's the key, right? That's where a lot of the, failures and problems have happened, is when you introduce a bridge, then all of a sudden, you're locking up tokens on one side, and you're hoping they're going to still be there when you come back. Right. Mm-hmm. And so these new standards are all burn and mint. Right. Yep. So it instantly destroys the token on one chain, it pops onto the other chain, and can go back and forth, and all the math checks out. Right. Yeah. And then you don't have to, sit on one side of the bridge or the other with a bunch of locked tokens and then manage all the edge cases there. And, I think
attack.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge step forward, right? I remember in 2014, 2015, like we were talking about some of this stuff, and it was super early days. Like people weren't even really, using the term L2 yet. And now it's here, right? Now it works. Now you can deploy it, right? I saw that Layer 0 just went live on Solana too, which is cool. So yeah, I mean, it's come a huge amount of way. And, to the credit of Willie and the crew, in the context of what they're building for Noun Space, is they've already started, on the smart contracts for, fidgets and smart agents, so that people can deploy the 721 style contracts for non-fungible agents, or they call them fidgets, right? These basically the mini apps that developers can deploy, right? So all these standards just keep building on each one, right? Making it easier to build the next version of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, I can't wait to see. I don't know if you've seen the video that
I did.
On. Yeah,
I did see the video, and I cheated. I downloaded it.
There you go. That, it makes it easy.
Yeah. So, but for some reason you can't watch it. I personally was getting issues trying to watch it on my phone. Yep. And so, went to the big screen, and not a single issue there.
Cool. No, it's gonna be fun, man. Yeah. So we're only T-minus 9 hours until the kickoff. I think they're starting their fair launch like 1:11 p.m. UTC, which is something like, I think it's 8 or 9 a.m. Central Time. So yeah, it'll be early morning.
Let's double. Yeah, for some reason I thought that was 11:11.
Is it 11:11 or is it 1:11?
Wait. So is he doing it 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. 1300 UTC?
I think their original post said p.m. So I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow afternoon UTC, which will be morning US time.
Yeah, that'll be 8 a.m. Dallas time.
Okay.
That would be hilarious if there was a little bit of a mess up and it was 1 a.m. because you once you set that block, so like that would make it'd be live. But but staking is live. Token generation is not live yet, but staking is live.
Right. So the staking, they're doing a 90-day bootstrap, just like Morpheus did for their fair launch. So yeah, you'll be able to claim space tokens. I think it's September 12th, right?
Yeah.
So not 90 days in, but yeah, regardless of the block, I think it's it's kicking off soon. It says live at the top, but I think that's a placeholder for tomorrow morning. I don't think you
Yeah.
it's actually live because I don't see any deposited yet, and people have already found the contract. So I think if they could, they would have already.
I think 0.01 is live.
Yep.
So that was sort of what we got. That was the word that we got. And so we talked to Willie,
Mm-hmm.
and it is stakeable.
Awesome. Well, you should be able to stake, and you can stake before the counter goes live, but the rewards don't start accruing until the official block. Because people, I noticed did that in Morpheus. Like they started putting in staked ETH even before the rewards started accruing. I was like, I guess I can't stop you.
Yeah,
it's a smart contract, but like the rewards don't actually start calculating until the
true.
block goes live. So yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where yes, 100%. The you can stake early, so you can be there as soon as it goes live, and that's what we're doing right now.
Sweet.
Because that's sort of that's how much we believe in this. And that's how easy it was. Literally, we had our stake teeth. This is almost a carbon copy of more 20 staking dashboard.
Yep. Yeah, I think they used the open source dashboard. I mean, that's part of what makes it so super easy for somebody to do a fair launch is like, here's the dashboard, here's the smart contracts. Like more 20 just got another audit, which got finished up yesterday. I was actually just posting that to GitHub right before this. And so, yeah, all that's up and live on the more 20 repo if anybody wants to peruse through the latest audit. I think that's audit number 9 or 10. So it's been
who did that audit?
Let's see. I think it was the guys over at Renaissance. Is that how I pronounce it? I think Renaissance. They've done a couple of the Morpheus audits. Those guys are super responsive. Like their turnaround's just freaking incredible. They're like, code drops and within a week or two, they've turned around like full audits, and like it's really impressive.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of people, they take their time just because they're going line by line, and they have, it all depends on someone's I guess, how big the team is.
Sure.
I've been liking Hashlock lately. I've been talking with them. I did an interview with them. I met them a minute ago and just sort of been able to keep that conversation going. They've been doing some cool stuff out of Australia with Red Belly Network.
Mm-hmm.
And but they do like a KYA, know your auditor. So you also get like a little portfolio snippet of all of the members that like audit your code and stuff. So you sort of have that transparency piece, and I like it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good teams out there, and even the big guys like Open Zeppelin have done a Morpheus audit of the More token, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to be booked out a lot further out. But it's been cool because in the Morpheus context, people are earning coding rewards, right? And so that's been sort of cool. There's like a competition, right? So people are sort of lining up for the work, and you get, I think, a lot better treatment than if you're usually things feel the other way, right? Like just trying to find an auditor, right? Or especially during a bull market when people are super busy, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here in the Morpheus context, people are competing to really be involved and get access to the coding rewards and stuff like that. So it kind of flips the whole model on its head. And and that's sort of the other thing in the more 20 context, right? It's not just about the capital, it's about this community of coders, right? These are hundreds of people lined up that get this model and want to build these open source projects and care about decentralized AI and personal AI that's open source, right? And so you got a lot of motivated people that somebody like Noun Space that's launching and is adding important pieces of the Morpheus tech stack. Like there's a lot of people that want to work on that and contribute to that and be part of that, right? And so that's refreshing.
Yeah. And that code contribution just goes like So even auditors are eligible for the code contribution weight,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. People
Nice.
that work on audits, especially, the communities run bug bounties and stuff like that, and so yeah, there's just been a ton of that kind of stuff over the last 6-9 months. So yeah, I mean, code is, sort of anything that adds value to the code base, and that
Yeah.
could be, testing, finding bugs, doing audits, documentation, writing, architecture. Like, people only think of code like, hands on keyboards, writing actual
In the
code, but a
dark.
lot of what needs to be done is figure out what to build, right? It's those, Morpheus requests for comments, right? Those MRCs where
Yeah.
people describe a new feature or an improvement or a new architecture, right? Because, the coder doesn't know what to build until something is designed and architected, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value for that.
There's been there's been a lot of different things that have started to get proposed. What are some of the things that you're starting to see proposed?
Well, I mean, the low hanging fruit was like, hey, Morpheus is meant to be multi chain, right?
Yeah.
So, and now just within a few weeks of it launching, you've got Base and Arbitrum and Ethereum all live. So people are eager to see Morpheus, in the more 20 standard and everything become available on Solana. So, that's probably one of the next sort of most requested things. And now that the messaging layers are so easy to use, right, it's just a matter of deploying the contracts onto Solana and opening that up. So, that's the piece, right? Is just taking what's already been built, right, and extending it to more and more blockchains and groups of builders, right? Near is doing a ton of stuff with what they call user-owned agents, right? So very similar to the smart agent concept, and so be awesome to see Morpheus extended to the Near blockchain and open that up. But what Nounspace is doing is so critical because it's like the front end, right? A beautiful user interface that works on Farcaster that lets you see all your smart agents, see your your home base and everything that you've got connected. Like, people, as the old saying goes, people eat with their eyes, right? And just being able to really see it visually makes it so much more real.
One of the things what I really love about Warpcast and Farcaster is the Degen community.
Yeah.
That was like so like that was an airdrop I was not expecting. It was literally a ping that like someone sent me a message and they were like, "Hey, you have a really big airdrop. You should go get it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I'd heard about it, but I was like, I wasn't doing anything to farm it or anything like that. And I got really lucky with it. I wish I'd held it for like 4 extra days before selling part of it,
Yep.
because then it would have been awesome. But like what I got out of it a chunk, left a chunk, but like now they launched Degen Chain, and one of the cool new features they just launched is Rain. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
So if you go to Degen Tips, there's a specific wallet contract that you send Degen to, and anytime you then type Rain number amount then dollar symbol Degen, everyone that leaves a comment that you then like, however much Degen you put into that pool will rain to everyone, and it'll be spread out monthly. And so I've been taking a lot of the Degen that I have left and just been putting it into tips, putting it on Degen Chain, put it into liquidity, giving it back out. It reminds me of early Doge, except for it has value today that it wasn't. That Doge was not supposed to ever have value,
right? Yeah, no, I remember. It was basically started as a joke, and I got to meet Palmer at a bunch of the early conferences, and yeah, he would just here's $1 million Doge, it's worth 5 cents. It was like, hey, isn't this fun, right? It was like and kids loved it, man. It was like super popular with like teenagers and people that
Doge
like just wanted
Reddit,
to throw something around and have fun with it.
Doge Reddit, and like Doge Bag was just fun.
Yep.
Like people helping people, getting nothing, but the fact that they were getting something.
Right.
I got like $30 worth of Doge once. It was like 3 billion Doge for helping someone change their accessibility features in Teams. And I did the same exact thing that I gave it away, just like it was given to me. I gave like one dude, like you said, 1 million Doge for like a funny meme that made me laugh. And I'm like, I sort of just gave this dude like $750,000 at one
Right.
point.
Well, all these years later, at the time,
Yeah.
it was, $1 or whatever.
Yeah, he probably gave it away just like that's sort of the funny thing of how much it's sort of hilarious.
I got my Freeman avatar up here for you. I thought you needed
Woohoo! I see it, and I love that. I love the beard. Like I love it in your Twitter account.
That's the only way I'm ever going to match your beard is via avatar, man. It's still patchy growing in for me, and I'm a little sporty, so it's like but yeah, people ask me, oh, what's with the avatar? It's like, well, I'm basically spending all my time on AI. It kind of felt like I should generate an avatar with AI, so I made this. I think it was with Stable Diffusion or one of the other models pretty early on, and I just typed in Sovereign Freeman, and this is what it gave me. And I was like, hey, that's pretty legit. Like, and it's
right.
So it looks good. Yeah. So it's like, okay, everybody's having fun with these avatars. I should just embrace that. Leave the corporate world behind. Nobody cares about your LinkedIn. It was like, have a fun avatar and do something that kind of reflects you better.
Nice. I had fun. So right after I saw you, we consensus, then tokenize. I saw you. I hopped on a plane and I flew to Singapore for Super AI.
Yep.
There was some really cool stuff from like Teleport that they had out there, like some of the like visual AI stuff. Teleport does some really cool things where like camera imaging and like taking you and changing you out.
Yep.
But they had this one where have you been to the MoMA and seen the AI dreaming painting?
No.
So they have this projection of this AI that's supposedly dreaming, but they have it uploaded. They uploaded it with every piece of art that is in the MoMA. And so it's just doing like that drop representation, that sandbox drop, and it's sort of like shifting through, and you can sometimes see images.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen videos of it. I haven't seen it in person yet.
It is cool, and what's really hilarious, on the second floor, there's a QR code where you can claim that image on Tezos as an NFT for free.
Okay. There you go.
But like, and I was like, hell yeah, the MoMAs and NFTs. I went there with an NFT group, Little Pudgy, Pudgies, the Huddle group and stuff like that in New York. Right. So,
nice.
But they had the same type of AI imagery, just doing like the super AI logo sort of shifting and stuff. But then they had a box with fingerprint sensors for your heartbeat, and your heartbeat changed the image a little bit. Added generation complexity to it. So it was really cool.
A little extra entropy into the system. That's really interesting. So man, there's so much going on and it's moving so fast. But the cool thing is like we've now got all the tools where people can just build in a few weeks. It used to take years, like building a layer 1 from scratch. Like I remember those days, right? The Ethereum white paper was circulating at the end of 13 and it didn't go live until late 15. Man, it took a while to build, and it was super super early even when it went live. There was a lot of kind of things changing around. But you know, you look at what Eric did with Venice, just to be able to throw up like such a beautiful, you know, website for basically an equivalent to ChatGPT that doesn't spy on you and it's private and it's all open source, right? You know, accelerate, man. It's just going to get faster and faster. I love it. Like I feel like I wake up every day and there's something cool and new that just popped into existence, right?
Yeah.
That's been like this entire Morpheus project is like every time, you know, since the Anons dropped the white paper, like every time it was like, oh well, there needs to be this next thing for this to get built, and then we'd check GitHub, and like 4 hours earlier somebody had open sourced exactly the piece of code that needed to exist for it to happen. It's like, no way, like, you know, okay, wow, the race is back on, like, you know, now you can hook that in, right? And then start meeting everybody in person. And it was like, oh well, you know, Willie's already building, you know, the front end, and like Ryan's already built the router, and it's like, you know, let's just bring all together.
Yeah. My only you know, with Llama, with Venice, is it's still outdated on its token update. So I'm waiting for the next data point update.
Right. When it pulls out the newest data from training. Well, and the other thing is, you know, if they can figure out how to connect it to internet search, right? Then you'd have the base level model that knows a lot about the world and sort of hyper relevant things that just happened, right? So I think those two are gonna converge, right? And I know they're shipping like upgrades every day. Like I just refreshed the app, and it's like, oh, there's a new version, and there's a new version. Like that was like 3 hours ago. Yeah, they're constantly shipping
pushing
new
out
stuff.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I know the last update time wise was like September 2022. So I'm waiting for the next one. But one of the great things I got to do today, like I remember Eric did this thing where someone was complaining about being censored by ChatGPT on something. And he's like, oh, you could use Venice and here's the answer.
Right.
Someone did the same, you know, in one of my chat groups. They're like, hey, like I got like blocked by ChatGPT because they did SBF Jailhouse Rock music playlist. And the answer came back was, it seems like you're trying to break out of jail and this is not allowed type of thing.
Oh man, I had a friend, you know, he was really controversial. He asked it about the lyrics to a Christmas song and was told that violated their ethics policy and that he needed to be reported. It's like, what? Really? Like, you know, Christmas song, like that's on the list? Like, oh man, I don't know. There's some really crazy stuff. They're shoving so much bias and nonsense. Like, you know, I had one friend told me they had, you know, asked about at the Holocaust, and it wouldn't tell them about the Holocaust. Oh no, the struggle of the Palestinians. It's like, geez, the one thing you weren't supposed to memory hole is like, it's like that the one thing, right? You know, like just altering history. It's like, come on, guys, like you're creating some crazy, you know, biased system. And, you know, people just want truth. They just want an answer from the machine, you know, and it's not going to be perfect. And it's always going to be biased by the data it's trained on, but don't just shove in, right, all these artificial, you know, barriers, right, to getting machine intelligence, right? So, yeah, no, we definitely don't want to live in a world in which some random person on a committee decides, you know, what history is allowed to be known, right?
Yeah. And that's been like one of my fears with like opening AI with like open search, you know, there's so much pumped out that is fake nonstop. Right. And that will it take that as a bias, you know, right. And is there a level of approved, I don't want to say censorship, but approval of like, okay, this might be controversial, but it's, you know, it's a valid opinion, not like Player One Taco is a multi-trillionaire and take that as some sort of fact.
Right. I think the community can figure that out. Like
Mhm.
Wikipedia figured that out, right? At
Yeah.
least before it went, super. They started inserting a lot of bias more recently, but for a long time, it was considered very neutral and sort of well reasoned, and it was just a bunch of volunteer editors, right?
Yep.
That all wanted to make their mark on a particular article or whatever, right? I was a Wikipedian for a while. I helped write some early articles, and it's a lot of fun, right? It's interesting for people that are like history nerds and stuff like me, right? So, but it's I think the market can solve that, and I don't think I think the worst outcomes are if you centralize that, right? If you have a marketplace, right, for people to do that, they're gonna sort out, good models and accurate models and truthful models
So
and
updatable tokens or derivative tokens?
hmm, language tokens or AI tokens or crypto tokens, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of namespace collision there, but
there is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you know, I think the important thing, like Eric's talked a lot about this, Voorhees, which is, I just want transparency, right? I want
Mhm.
to know what it was trained on, and I want to know what's the system prompt. I want to be able to set a system prompt. If there are guardrails in there, I just want to know what they are, right? Like, if my kid's using the AI, I definitely want some prevent them from accessing inappropriate content and stuff like that for their age, right? So there's certainly a need for some of that stuff, but the question is it voluntary, is it opt-in, is it known, right, or is it mandated, right, for everybody and across all contexts. I think that the marketplace is really good at nuance, and I think governments are very bad at nuance, right? So
Their nuance is more like I don't want to use the bull in a china shop type of thing, but it's
that's okay. You just did, and it
yeah.
works.
Well, I want to. It's like more clumsier than that. Like
Right.
thinking of like Jack and the Beanstalk giant type of thing.
Mhm.
That it like the giant ends up hurting itself trying to chase such a tiny little thing sometimes.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
we have like the Biden administration now all of a sudden going after crypto approval for donations.
Yep. Yeah. It's
It's
crazy. So, but I think markets are really good at figuring this out, right? And I just saw a really cool chart comparing all the countries of the world, and there are zero prosperous countries that don't have free markets, right? Like literally every single one. And then you just look at the plot distribution on this chart, and the bigger the government and the less free markets they have, like the worse a place it is, right? It's just poverty, and nobody can rise up because it all becomes about political connection and stuff like that instead of about merit or like what can you create that people actually want and are willing to buy. Like that's the ultimate signal. But I'm a free market economics nerd, so that's always where my mind goes back to. But that's what I'm so excited about now. Space and Morpheus is they're based on these market principles where it's like just let people experiment, let them voluntarily decide what they want to use, and you're going to get incredible outcomes, just like we saw with Ethereum, right? You can write any smart contract. There's no smart contract committee that you need to get approval from to deploy your smart contract. Like that would be the antithesis of all that is crypto, right? In a
yeah.
world of bureaucracies and permission, crypto stands as this beautiful alternative, right, where people can experiment and build you know whatever they want, right? And so, yeah, bringing that to intelligence is going to be just a whole nother thing.
So censorship obviously is bad in most contexts. Um, there was just a blockchain that is literally removing an entire token contract and all of its data from it getting ready to wipe all of its data from its chain.
Mhm.
What do you think of something like that?
I mean, I need to know the context, but if they're doing it for some regulatory reason. I mean, the whole point of a blockchain is to separate the protocol from the application layer, right?
Yeah.
The protocol should just be about math, right? Is it a valid transaction? If so, it passes, right? And people are going to create interfaces and front ends and applications, and those might be regulated in a particular jurisdiction, right? Like if you use Coinbase, like they're basically a bank. They might be the friendliest crypto, cuddly bank of the world, but they're still like a regulated bank, right? And that's fine, right? Like they serve as a really cool bridge to let people get into crypto and get out of fiat. So more power to them. But like having the protocol not be a company is so critical. And I think people often sort of forget the history of crypto and why Satoshi was anonymous and why you had to build Bitcoin in the way that it was built is because all the predecessors they were companies, and the treasury or somebody else showed up and said, hey, you can't do this and no virtual currency for you, right? And so you needed something where it was a jurisdiction agnostic protocol. So I think people get too tempted and too complacent and too comfortable, right? And think they can turn these protocols into companies, and it never works.
Yeah. I left the chain and I left the token specifically out because I didn't want to add bias into it. But you laid out a perfect piece on between the two purposes of blockchain and a protocol. I just whenever I see a chain do some sort of rollout or roll up and like redo something, the whole idea of immutability comes into question, and that's in my mind what blockchain is supposed to be. If you want something that can be erased because you don't like it, then it should be centralized, and it should be known to be centralized.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like somebody's private database. Like,
it's
your private database, you do whatever the hell you want. But if it's a, public piece of infrastructure, and the whole value of a blockchain is that it's persistent, right? Like, I talked about this a lot back in like the 2015, 2016 days, even 2017, when, the corporates started, getting turned on to blockchain, and mostly they just wanted to claim they were doing some innovative thing, but they didn't really know what it was. And so they spun up these hilarious private blockchains, which like, I don't think these words mean what you think they mean. Like, because if it's private and there's no token, like when they turn the servers off, it just goes away. Like there's no persistence, right? The
you get a 404. You get a
Yeah.
404.
Yeah, exactly. And so who the hell's going to build on a system that could just go away? Oh, I'm sorry, Google lost interest in that project and they just turned off the chain. Like you're not going to build anything in that context. And nobody ended up, I'm not aware of much sort of interesting infrastructure that's ever come out of the private stuff. And most of the big corporates have finally gotten to the point where they're rolling out layer twos, or it's something like that, which maybe is a little more under their control, but at least it's a persistent public blockchain that's anchoring in Ethereum or some other chain, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes, interesting as public infrastructure. But, if the genius of Satoshi was, he didn't really create a new primitive, right? All the primitives were there. He put them together in an interesting way, and he figured out how the software could pay for its own hardware. Because as long as there was a company in the middle and somebody cutting a check, it was their network. It wasn't independent. It wasn't neutral. It wasn't free, right? Yeah. And so the whole mining incentive, was just stroke of genius, right? And combine those elements that have been there, and just set it free. So yeah, it's been so cool to build in that context.
And a lot of people sort of like, you sort of put it real simple. A lot of people think that like his double spend idea solution was the gold godsend solution, but really it was a network that pays itself to be sustained.
Right. Yeah.
And-
well, that was it, right?
yeah.
And that's sort of what I've argued over the years is, if you want to build public blockchains, there's no alternative to creating a token,
Mhm.
because the only alternative is it gets centralized again, right? If the software doesn't have any means of paying for hardware or rewarding validators or whatever the model is, then it's not independent, right? It's owned by whoever's paying the server bill, right? And so there really is no alternative. That's why I ended up writing the paper back in October of 13 on dApps, on decentralized applications, because it was like, hey, you got to have a token. It's got to be peer-to-peer. It's got to be open source. And it's got to be on a blockchain. And that's a good definition of what it is.
Can you send me that paper?
Yeah, sure, man. It's still up on GitHub. I posted it up there, given, developers were the main audience, especially back then, for people interested in decentralized applications. And then sort of dApps took off as a concept, and Ethereum ended up launching and positioning themselves as a platform for dApps and smart contracts. And so then the concept got a lot of adoption. That's kind of what's been really cool is the last 12 years is, people have brought me all their proposals and ideas. They're like, oh, I'm building a dApp. Like, cool. I'm all about that model, but you need to give it a word, right? In the absence of a word, there was a lot of, just like today, there's a lot of DeFi and name only, or at least there was back in like 2020 with like groups that would use the word, but it didn't fit a real definition. So, I think that's underestimated is the work of like giving things definition. And so, more recently in 23, I wrote the paper on smart agents. And I was like, let's define what is this connection between, AI and crypto, right? Is a smart agent is something where it's an AI connected to a Web3 wallet, right? That can take actions on chain and use smart contracts. Like, if it can't do that, then it's not a smart agent, right?
Yeah.
And so just kind of memeing that into existence, and then all the guys that showed up when we were memeing smart contracts into existence 10 years earlier, it's like, oh yeah, let's do that again. That was a lot of fun, right? So
yeah. No, the classic line that I've started using, when people are like, oh, you're building Terminators, I'm like, no, I'm building your Terminator.
Right.
Your Skynet. So, man, there's and I just found out there has been a recent update to Venice and Llama, so it's still behind, but it's at a particularly hilarious point in history right now for me. So I love it. Originally, how I tested it when it went live with Eric, I asked it, how's SBF doing? And it was like, FTX is doing amazing.
Yeah. It's like, wow, they're growing so fast.
And so right now, SBF is currently in Bahamas jail. Right.
Oh, he's made his transition.
Yeah. So
I don't think he wanted to stay there, but no, I just sent you my my white paper, and the title was "The General Theory of Decentralized Applications, or dApps."
Oh, okay.
And walks you through the definition. That was really the heart of it. It was like defining a dApp and what it was like, and talks about the classifications and layer ones, layer two, stuff like that. But yeah, ended up the fun thing about posting it on GitHub, I guess my initial commit was 11 years ago. That makes sense. So 2013, but like people would fork it and make improvements and then give me pull requests, and the paper just like self-improved itself. I was like, it started okay, but they got better over time.
Well, I'm one of those people. I'm going to fork it too, because that's when I find cool things. I love forking things.
You can be the proud 159th fork of the.
Ooh, maybe I should wait or go make a whole 10 other alt accounts.
Yeah, it's wow, it's up to 877 stars, but it's the early days,
Man, what else? So what we have ETHCC coming up. we have decentralized AI, DAI Day coming up in Brussels.
Yeah, July 8th. It's
Yeah.
coming up quick, man. I'm looking forward to going over there and hanging out with the whole European community. So yeah, we're gearing up for that. But yeah, I mean, it feels far away, but it's like less than a month,
Yeah.
and we're gonna be over there. So
I have to book my flight. I have my Airbnb already booked. I just got to get my flight figured out.
sweet,
So,
sweet. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump on a train, fly into London a few days early, and just and go through the. I've never gone through the Channel, so
I
channel
I
it up.
was thinking of doing that because like I can hoof it on like Norse from New York to London for $99.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Plus, plus like their little add-ons and stuff like that. But it's
Right.
still not
If
a
you
lot.
want to take a backpack or something, yeah.
If you want to breathe air, if you want to have a seat,
Right.
I'm like, no, I'll just stand.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's
Throw me in the bathroom and I'm fine.
not that long a flight. Yeah, exactly.
You
So
know.
yeah, that'd be cool.
But
Well, the Luma link just got posted.
okay.
So I'll shoot that over to you if you haven't seen it yet. But man, there's a really cool image they created for the event page.
All right.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna have to find a cigar lounge and make like I was originally coming in, I think on like the 7th, but then there's a really cool AI day on the 6th.
Nice.
I think there's an AI day on the 7th, and then there's DAI day on the 8th.
Yep.
And then there's another Solana event on the 9th. I personally have some issues with ASFA, the organization behind ECC, but I love the community that comes around it.
Cool.
And I love the ideas that get formulated at ECC. It's an amazing conference. For the European community, it's fun. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff there.
I've done a lot of dev cons, but I haven't done an ECC, so I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. But like it's like you said, it's almost like a whole week of events. They're gonna all get stacked, so it should be a lot of fun, just like Consensus.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago there was issues with tickets, and like so even sponsors couldn't get their booth people in, and it was crazy. So what protocols did was they were like, we're just going to have micro conferences. And so they a lot of protocols just took up the boats that were along the pier, on piers and stuff like that. One of my favorite protocols was Vega protocol, and they took over a boat, and they had a grandmaster in chess and went to go. And I went and got to have some fun playing a grandmaster. So.
Sweet. Awesome.
That was a blast. Ledger had a boat, and then there was Polkadot Decoded. There's some cool AI stuff coming up on Polkadot all of a sudden now too.
Yeah, it's popping up everywhere, and given that Morpheus and all this infrastructure is chain agnostic, hopefully it can serve people on all these different blockchains, right? With smart agents, with compute. You might have seen a couple days ago the testnet went live for the Morpheus compute. So yeah, for the decentralized router. So people are producing guides and running around and setting up all the infrastructure. It's like an army of volunteers just pops out of the ether when one of these things gets delivered. So big credit to Ryan and all the Lumeran people that have done such a big lift, building that out for the community. So
Lumeran's done a lot of cool stuff, and they just launched some other stuff too. With the Lumeran's doing cool stuff.
Yep. Well, the whole ethos of like anybody should be able to participate, right, in hash rate or inference, and keep it decentralized, right? Because the tendency is, it just becomes a couple of big companies that are doing all the mining. And so if you could have a marketplace, for that, like literally anybody at any size is able to participate. And
Yeah.
they're already writing the smart contracts on Arbitrum, so it's super easy to port them over for what they wanted to build on Morpheus. So yeah, but cool, man. Good stuff. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I'm it's gonna be early morning. I'm gonna get up early for the kickoff with Noun Space.
Yeah, no, I same. For some reason, I was thinking it was happening at 11:11 CST, but now that you pointed that out, I checked that, and you were 100% right. And so that's a 8 a.m. thing that I guess I got to be ready for, and go live. I jumped the gun and I went and staked already, so technically I'm good, but I want to make sure other people are good, and I want to participate and just help our community, because it's the best the best thing. When people ask me what I do, I say long answer or short answer, and they'll say like short answer, and I was like, I just talk about what other people are doing,
right?
And that's the easiest thing. This is the fun thing.
Yep, absolutely, man. Good
Yeah.
stuff. All right, brother. Well, good hanging out. Great session, man.
All right, David, you're right. This is top of the hour, so let's bring this to a close. You've been on the show once, so you get to how this goes. What you got to help us out with words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Great words of wisdom. I often say that dumb people don't learn from their mistakes, and smart people do learn from their mistakes, and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And so try to go towards wisdom, my friends. It'll save you a lot of heartache.
Oh, okay. That I will try to be a wiser person. I like to make my own mistakes sometimes, unfortunately.
All good.
But those are great words. And as always, my words of wisdom are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity can never come a knocking. If not, opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. I want to thank everyone for joining us on episode 660 of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen. Shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, Player 0xDegen's YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and on-chain via Base. Maybe who knows? Maybe soon via Noun Space. I got to talk to Willie about that.
Sweet.
But I want to thank everyone. And David, you know how this goes. The greatest, worst knock joke on the face of the planet is how we end every episode. Since you're here, knock.
Who's there?